On the day my best friend got married. She handed me the bridal bouquet and teased. "When are you getting married?" "Not yet." My boyfriend, 6 years younger than me, cut in first. But as I touched the petals, I said, "In 6 months." Wedding preparations are a hassle. He thought I was pressuring him and reluctantly agreed with a frown. Then vanished overnight under the guise of a bachelor party. Only a week before the wedding, when he saw his brother's face in the wedding photos, did he realize? The groom I meant had never been him. Ethan Johnson is 25, full of energy, though I hate to admit it. Compared to him, I really am getting older. I've lost count of how many nights he's stayed out. At 9 p.m. I received a video from one of Ethan's shady friends, along with the message, "Look at me, sis. I'm way more obedient than Ethan." I ignored it and clicked play. People danced in a crowded club. Ethan's porcelain skin nurtured by my cara glaringly bright under the lights. A girl in a short skirt pressed against him. He didn't refuse, wrapping an arm around her waist as they swayed to the beat. When the music peaked, she tilted her head up. He gripped her waist tightly, smirked, and kissed her as she rose on her toes. A perfect match. The video ended abruptly. His friend texted again. "Sis, check me out. I'm way better than Ethan." I transferred him $200, the cost of checking surveillance footage, then blocked him. In my world, everything has a price. That's all he was worth. I sensed Ethan growing restless long ago. After deleting the video, I opened my saved wedding decor ideas. Grandma is old. Her only wish is to see me married. This was planned long ago. I wouldn't let him ruin it. If he wouldn't do, I'd find another. At 10 sharp, Ethan called. His voice was overly loud. "Emily Wilson. I'm not coming back tonight." Silence. He added, almost guiltily, "They know I'm getting married. Throwing me a bachelor party." I remembered I'd used that excuse 7 times this week. So he hadn't come home once. Noise and chaos bled through the receiver, shattering the quiet. "Sis, what's wrong?" he asked cautiously. Waiting. I glanced at the wall clock. Dazed, I replied, "It's 10 o'clock. Outsiders wouldn't understand. But he and I did. Back when we were obsessed with each other. He'd set that rule. He was still in school then. I often returned late from work events. Once, I came home near midnight to find him curled on the sofa. Empty bottles scattered. Drunk and bleary-eyed. He stumbled toward me. "Emily, can't you come back by 10? Head pleaded. We were new then. His once bright personality had turned suspicious and fragile because of me. Seeing his damp eyes, smelling the cream cake he'd baked, I couldn't refuse. So I gave him a birthday wish. "Give me a week." That week, he boldly texted, "Emily Wilson. 10 o'clock. Time to come home." Later, just 10 o'clock. I instinctively said, "Time to go home." That was our unspoken little game. But perhaps because it was too unspoken, I never realized when this little game stopped. When exactly did it stop? I started thinking about this for the first time. Maybe it was when he started working. Or when he graduated. Or even longer ago. He hadn't said that phrase in a long time. As if he was certain I would always come home on time. It was just a privilege granted out of soft-heartedness. I could take it back any time I wanted. He clearly knew what I meant and paused for a moment. Someone on the phone called out to him. "Ethan, hurry up. Truth or dare?" The voice came from far to near. Realizing he was on a call, and chuckled mockingly. Then said, "Not even married yet. And you're already checking up on me. Can't even have a bachelor party." Ethan Johnson didn't speak, and a guy patted his shoulder, laughing out loud. "Come on, hurry up." Ethan's voice finally came through, softening his tone as he called to me. "Emily." I pinched the bridge of my nose, pulling back my exposed emotions. "You don't need to come over anymore from now on." He seemed surprised for a second, then said to me, "Emily, it's my last bachelor party." He said it casually, But it was actually a complaint. Complaining about why I was pressuring him. Last week, at my best friend's wedding, she handed the bridal bouquet directly to me. Everyone knew Ethan and I had been dating for 5 years. And I spoiled him endlessly. I'm 31 this year. Not exactly young. My best friend looked at Ethan and teased me. So, when are you two getting married? Let's wait a bit longer. As Ethan said that, everyone's expressions turned sour. I looked at the bouquet in my hands and spoke up on my own. Sometime in the second half of the year. Wedding preparations are a hassle. Ethan didn't want to embarrass me, so he frowned and nodded. But back home, he lost his temper and called me by my full name. Emily Wilson. How could you pressure me like this? I'm only 25. So what? At 20 and 21, his wishes were all about marrying me. Had he forgotten by 25? That argument ended without resolution. Because it was a one-sided fight from him. I felt exhausted. And seeing his stubborn expression, I had no energy to argue about whether I was pressuring him or not. He stormed out angrily. He didn't come back all night. And the next day told me he was attending a bachelor party. Until today, he was still at a bachelor party. His friends were urging him urgently. And before I could say anything, he hung up first. Half an hour later, his message finally came through. Emily, I love you most. I'll be home tomorrow night. With less than half a year left until the wedding date I set. If I didn't make a stand, he would absolutely use the excuse of attending bachelor parties to get through this time. On one hand, it was to express his dissatisfaction, and on the other, to satisfy himself. He had grown up, always thinking I couldn't live without him. But he was wrong. I had long realized that marrying anyone was the same as marrying anyone else. So if he suited me, I kept him around. If he was obedient, I spoiled him. If not, I could replace him. Find someone clean, obedient, and easygoing. It was that simple. Ethan didn't cling to me like he did during the honeymoon phase, demanding answers. I watched the clock pass midnight and replied to his message. When I said don't come back, I meant we're over. I gave him a chance. I think I've done all I could. I was just thinking about asking my bestie to introduce me to someone new. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, one after another. The unhurried sound was especially distinct in the late night. I stood up and opened the door. A man as tall as a sculpture stood at the door. One hand held a cake, and the other hand had a flickering cigarette between his fingertips. He looked at me and seriously called my name. Emily Wilson. Before I could say anything, he spoke again, with a sincere tone. I'm here to steal my brother's girl. His slightly hoarse voice drifted into my ears along with the night wind, and the smell of alcohol came with it. I remembered when I was taken home by Ethan. He stared fixedly at me. At that time, I thought and thought. But there was really no such person in my memory. Now I thought again, still certain that I didn't know him. He stood in front of me, his eyebrows and eyes shrouded in the smoke. Then he spoke again. Emily. Consider me. I stood there with my arms folded, looking at the serious man in front of me. I haven't broken up with your brother yet. He lowered his head and looked at me, snuffed out the cigarette, and calmly stated, You're not married yet. We're planning to get married. He followed up. You can still get divorced even if you're married. What if we don't get divorced? He fell silent and whispered humbly, Please consider me. Although he showed a bit of vulnerability because of the alcohol at this moment, I still felt that I wouldn't be able to handle him in the future. I wanted to refuse, but he didn't give me a chance to open my mouth. He lifted the cake and stuffed it into my hand. It was from the shop I used to go to in college. Think about it. Ethan's phone call came in. The ringing going on and on. I answered, and his voice on the other end lost the calmness it had before. His nervousness and anxiety came through the phone to me. Sis, what's wrong? Did you misunderstand something? I'll go home right away now. Let's have a good talk. The man in front of me took a step forward, and the smell of alcohol sprayed on my face. I couldn't tell if he was drunk. His face looked normal. But what he did was crazy. He completely ignored the phone I was answering and just started talking on his own. You don't have to break up with Ethan. It's my own choice. I didn't know how much Ethan heard. His voice tightened. Who's beside you? Just as I was about to hang up the phone. The man in front of me directly said, "It's me." Now Ethan knew. He shouted through the phone, "Bro." Andrew didn't say a word. Ethan's tone suddenly became relaxed. "Bro. It's good that you're there. Please help me persuade Emily. I'll go back tomorrow morning. I can't leave here now." Andrew replied seriously in a proper tone. Okay. Ethan only heard the voice but didn't hear the content. So he safely left me in his brother's care. He didn't know that his brother was trying to steal his girl. I hung up the phone. Andrew stood there quietly, as if waiting for my verdict. I took a deep breath and said in a joking tone, "Go back. I'm really not interested in you." It was a lie. He was the type I liked. A man of few words but capable. And he'd spoil the one he loved to the sky if he fell in love. When I was dating Ethan, I was young and liked the younger guys who liked to act coquettishly. Only after the relationship did I realize how bad it was. But even with my non-existent moral compass, I'd never jump straight into a rebound relationship with my ex's brother. He didn't step back. Instead, he looked directly at me and said, "This isn't on you. I pursued you." His gaze was so intense it felt like he was stripping me bare, seeing straight into my soul. I processed his words for 2 seconds before stepping away. In those moments, I replayed the sequence. Ethan Johnson acted unethically first, so I broke up with him. His brother approached me while I was single, and we got together. It was logical, reasonable. My moral standards really are that low. And because they're low, life's mostly pretty good. I raised my index finger at Andrew Davis, who looked utterly lost standing in my apartment. "Ground rules," I declared. He lifted his head, and I wiggled my finger. "First, we keep this quiet for now. I don't think Grandma can handle it." He offered no protest. I extended my ring finger for rule 2. "Second, we divorce once Grandma passes." Still silent, like a brick wall, I held up my thumb. "Third, marriage doesn't mean you control my freedom." He remained frozen, mimicking a gun. I playfully shot him with a sound effect. Bang, bang, bang. Whose heartbeat was that? So loud, betraying its owner completely. Andrew looked momentarily disgusted before realizing it was his own. After all these years, he'd finally gotten what he wanted. "I have one condition too," he said. "We get married. Quickly. Deal." His urgency was real. The moment I agreed, he was on the couch browsing wedding venues, watching his familiarity with the process. I asked, "Did you plan this before?" He shook his head, eyes still on the screen. "No." A pause. "I used to plan how to steal you away." I unpacked the strawberry cake and sat beside him as he scrolled, picking off the strawberries. I pushed them aside. He naturally picked one up, ate it, and asked, "Don't like strawberries?" I used to love them. Couldn't remember why that changed. I nodded dramatically. "Strawberries are the most disgusting food on earth." He didn't question it, just nodded seriously. Noted, effortlessly. He picked off the remaining strawberries before returning to the wedding plans. 3 a.m. Planning a wedding with my ex-boyfriend's brother. The absurdity was palpable. Yet Andrew, completely focused, kept asking for input. "Is this venue okay? These invitations. Can I book your dress fitting for early next month?" Question after question turned our impulsive agreement into concrete plans. Exhausted, I finally retreated to my bedroom. Only when closing the door did I notice his intensity, back slightly hunched, body taut, eyes glued to the small screen, fingertips pressing so hard they were turning white, leaning against the doorframe. I watched him, head bowed, fiercely containing himself. "The guest room is here. Do you want to rest?" He stood up, followed my fingertip to look at the guest room. The motion of turning his head like a robot. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. He spoke in a normal tone. I want sleep. Do you have the key? I was puzzled. He continued. I'm going down for a run. You might not be up when I come back in the morning. Reasonable. The second one from the left on the shoe cabinet. Run far away. Don't disturb anyone. He nodded, stood up clumsily and walked toward the door. Before closing the door, he awkwardly said to me, "Sleep early." I turned my head. His phone was on the living room table. Someone was calling him. The screen lit up continuously. I approached and saw Mom on the screen. Then, messages came in. I heard from Ethan Johnson that you're at Emily Wilson's place. Help your brother persuade Emily Wilson. It wasn't that I wanted to see, but the screen was too bright. And the messages kept coming. You know Ethan Johnson's personality. As Andrew, you should be more understanding. Use the set you bought at the beginning of the year for the wedding house. Don't say Mom is biased. Anyway, you don't live there. I put the phone face down on the table and walked into the bedroom. His mother's tone was really disgusting. The next day, I was woken up by hunger. I hadn't eaten it all the day before. So after getting up, I wanted to find something to eat in the kitchen. As soon as I stepped out of the bedroom door, I saw Andrew Davis. He was sitting properly on the sofa, in the same position as last night, wearing a pair of non-prescription glasses, staring intently at the computer screen. Seeing me get up, he took off the glasses, stood up, and went into the kitchen. Custard buns and soy milk. Eat. They're hot. I ate the custard bun bite by bite while watching him work. He noticed me staring at him, didn't put the glasses back on, and turned the computer screen toward me. Is this style for the invitations okay? Only then did I see what he was busy with. He had made a PowerPoint for the wedding. Serious and old-fashioned. And it used the most basic template. I covered my stomach and laughed out loud. How could there be such a person? Andrew's ears turned slightly red, but he held the computer and waited for me to finish laughing. I glanced at the shabby PowerPoint, and for some reason, it struck me, and I laughed again. Seeing me laugh, he laughed along. He has almond-shaped eyes, deep double eyelid creases, eyes with distinct black and white, making him seem inexplicably fierce. But when he smiled, the curve of his upper eyelids made him look passionate. His eyes deep and misty, filled with unspeakable tenderness. I looked at him. He looked at me. The atmosphere suddenly became somewhat intimate. The sudden sound of the door opening broke the ambiguous mood. Emily. I'm back. Ethan Johnson had returned. More than a week since we argued. His first time back. Andrew is here too. Ethan greeted Andrew. Andrew turned the computer screen away. I took another bite of the custard bun, leaned back on the sofa, and answered Andrew's question. The second style looks good. Andrew softly hummed in agreement. Ethan felt the atmosphere was strange but didn't know why. So he simply came close to me. Emily, have you misunderstood something? He said and tried to hold my hand, but I pushed it away. He didn't defend himself further, lowered his head, and quickly apologized. I'm sorry. In past arguments, he was always the first to lower his head. But lowering his head was just that. He never changed. I had long sensed his perfunctory attitude. He repeatedly said he would solve the problems, but all he wanted was to quickly turn the page on them. Yeah, maybe he didn't expect me to react like this. He opened his mouth to test me. Did my friends say something bad to you? As he said this, he reached out to hold my hand, but was interrupted by Andrew. Emily, how do you like this wedding dress? I looked in the direction he pointed. He had good taste. It was a classic style. I nodded. Andrew then said, let's put it on hold for now. Suddenly, Ethan found he couldn't butt into our conversation. He stared blankly at Andrew and stammered. Andrew. Andrew didn't say a word. Ethan then moved closer to him on his own. He stared at the computer for a while and finally said, Andrew, thank you. You made this PPT so meticulously. He thought his brother had made it for him. Sure enough, his next sentence was, Andrew, send me a copy. Andrew lowered his eyes, put down the computer, and one hand clenched involuntarily. After looking at me, he mumbled an answer. It's not done yet. Andrew, you're so nice. When I go home this week, I'll ask Mom to cook something delicious for you. You like spicy food, right? I remember. Ethan was happy. Then he circled around me and asked, Emily, when will our wedding be? I took the last bite of the custard bun and mumbled incoherently. Andrew answered him first. In a month. After the taste of the custard bun faded, I finally smelled the faint perfume on Ethan. It was fruity. I never used that kind. He was shocked. Why is it advanced so much? Andrew answered again. It's better to settle it earlier. Ethan frowned and replied, Andrew, I'm only 25. Although he was talking to his brother, he was looking at me, his eyes full of complaints. He thought advancing the wedding was my idea. Andrew asked him, so what? Ethan couldn't come up with an answer and changed the topic, saying sullenly, a group of friends organized a trip. We're leaving this afternoon and it'll probably take about half a month. Go if you want. I swallowed the custard bun and finally gave my opinion. After all, he didn't have much to do with me. Ethan was happy. He didn't expect me to be so easygoing. He instinctively wanted to bury his head in my shoulder. Andrew interrupted again. Emily, come and have a look at this. I stood up and walked behind him, looking over his shoulder at the screen. It wasn't a PPT, but a few words. I'm a bit envious. It wasn't anger, nor jealousy. It was envy. Ethan had already picked up his phone to plan the trip. I turned around and went into the kitchen. Ethan was behind me, sending a voice message to his friend. We're leaving this afternoon. A single-person trip. I carried out half a watermelon and leaned against the doorframe. Ethan was still excited about the upcoming trip. Andrew stood up and walked towards me, taking the watermelon from me. He skillfully cut it into pieces and put them on a plate. He took the plate of watermelon out and then started to deal with the mangoes. Ethan was on the phone in the living room, speaking in a low voice. The air was filled with the fragrance of the cut fruits. I didn't know what Andrew was envious of Ethan for. I could only comfort him based on my intuition. I allowed him to exercise the rights of a fiancé and pressed him against the frosted kitchen door for a brief kiss. Before leaving, Ethan tilted his chin and asked his brother, Andrew, help me prepare for the wedding. You'll have an easier time when I come back next half-month. Andrew Davis hung his head, silent and unresponsive, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. After Ethan Johnson left, he asked me, when can we go see Grandma? I said, soon. On the third day of Ethan's trip, his mother called me. She told me Ethan had heart problems as a child, hinting throughout the conversation that I should be more understanding. I mumbled a vague agreement, then turned and saw Ethan's face on the trending list. It must have been a bonfire party, with young men and women gathered around. Ethan's face stood out exceptionally, holding a short-haired girl's hand, wearing a bold smile as they circled the fire. The video caption read, Youth is wonderful. You can attend a bonfire party with someone you love. I clicked into her profile. In the earliest videos, Ethan was always there, sometimes just an arm, the back of his head, or a corner of his clothing. Later, Ethan started appearing in full view, openly cooperating with the girls' requests. Youth is indeed wonderful, but I had no time to deal with their affairs. Andrew's schedule was packed. I needed to house hunt, try on wedding dresses, and register for marriage. I was too busy. I had to sleep early. The invitations Andrew prepared finally arrived. He wrote both our names stroke by stroke. He hadn't practiced calligraphy, but he handled the pen with great care, back straight, treating each invitation like a treasure. He worked during the day and wrote at night. When I slept, he went for a run. When I woke up, he started writing again. I suspected he hadn't slept for days. So to help him relax, I took him to see Grandma. Grandma's spirits had improved a bit, but she still didn't recognize anyone. Her memory was hazy. She took my hand and called out, "Dear, come home with Grandma." Then took Andrew's hand and called, "Ethan, Ethan, take good care of Emily Wilson." In her eyes, I was still the little girl who needed looking after. Grandma had mistaken him, but Andrew didn't correct her, crouching down to make it easier for her to hold his hand, and answered earnestly, "I know, Grandma." Grandma's condition fluctuated. She remembered Ethan, which was the toughest part, but Andrew assured me firmly not to worry. Whatever Ethan did, he could do it too. And even better, he said seriously, "I will absolutely reassure Grandma. I'm better than Ethan." Andrew got busier, juggling wedding preparations, caring for Grandma, and coming back to discuss things with me. He was stretched thin, as if split into three, but he never complained. In the past, when I was busy, Ethan would care for Grandma whenever he didn't have classes. Now it was Andrew's turn. And someone at the hospital must have had Ethan's contact information, so they called to ask. After a week of traveling, Ethan called me for the first time. "Emily Wilson, is my brother taking care of Grandma?" "Yes," I replied. He sounded flustered, his tone tinged with guilt. "Is Grandma okay with my brother caring for her? Or should I come back? I'll care for her every day." After he graduated, my workload lightened. I had plenty of time to visit Grandma at the hospital. But he seemed to get busier. Maybe he didn't even realize how long it had been since he'd seen the old woman. Strangely enough, our happiest time was when I was busiest. I answered him, "No need." He changed the subject. "Wait for me to come back for the wedding photo shoot. My mom will take you to see the house tomorrow. If anything's not to your liking, let me know." I hung up the phone. Andrew Davis was baking cookies in the kitchen. The whole house was filled with a sweet aroma. The voice was on speaker, so he must have heard the conversation. He put the first batch of cookies into a bowl and brought it out. He shoved them into my hand and told me, "Let's go see the wedding house tomorrow." He thought for a moment and added, "With my mom." I didn't say anything, and he added, "Well, go see the house tomorrow, then get our marriage license, take wedding photos, and get married next week." I laughed at him. So eager. He didn't deny it and admitted openly. Very eager. The next morning, Ethan Johnson's mother was waiting for me downstairs. I had met Ethan's mother before. At that time, Ethan was acting spoiled with her, and she smiled very gently. But I didn't expect her interaction with Andrew to be completely different from with Ethan. When she saw Andrew, her smile faded, and she looked somewhat stiff. When we got closer, she finally spoke. "Going to see the house?" Andrew nodded, then pulled open the car door. I got in, and she stood outside the car, at a loss. It was only when Andrew spoke that she got in the car, and she kept wiping sweat with a tissue. Andrew knew the wedding house better than his mother and explained everything to me along the way. He pointed at the doorway. "After you move in, you can buy a pink rug. You'd probably like it." The chandelier had a simple style. He pointed at it and said, "You can change it." I didn't like the color tone. Before I could say anything, Andrew interjected, "You probably don't like the paint color either. It can be changed." Andrew's mother followed behind us, and Andrew pointed to each spot, sharing his future ideas. It was nice, very sincere. After touring the whole house, Andrew's mother finally found an opportunity. She asked, "Emily Wilson, when are you planning to try on wedding dresses with Ethan?" All these things were planned by Andrew, and I was momentarily confused. Instinctively looking at Andrew, he answered his mother, "The day after tomorrow. Ethan won't be back by the day after tomorrow." No one answered her, and Andrew's mother probably realized something. She called him into the bedroom. I had no morals. I followed to eavesdrop. "What do you mean is the older brother? Don't you want to let Ethan use the house as a wedding house? It is a wedding house. Mom knows you had a crush on her. But she's your sister-in-law. Andrew didn't speak, letting his mother scold him. So biased. I was about to interrupt, but Andrew spoke first. Mom, I'm leaving. Where are you going? To the hospital to take care of Emily's grandmother. That sentence tore everything open. Andrew. Her shrill voice rang out. That's your sister-in-law. I heard Andrew's reply. She won't be for much longer. On the day we were getting our marriage license, Andrew rarely wore white and eagerly pulled me out. Before we left, I got a call from Ethan. He asked anxiously on the other end. Emily, have you watched any videos recently? I have. Andrew lowered his eyes, quietly waiting for me to talk to him. I stepped forward, took his hand, and said to the person on the phone, is there something? If not, I'm going to get the marriage license. Ethan's tone tightened, clearly knowing what happened on the house viewing day. But he said lightly, Emily, joking around again, I haven't come back yet. How can we get the marriage license? Chapter 1. A stamp and a photo snapped. Just like that. It was done. Except the person in the photo wasn't Ethan Johnson, who had been with me for 5 years, but his brother, Andrew Davis, whom I had known for less than a month. Andrew Davis held up his phone, snapping picture after picture of the marriage certificate. He solemnly put the certificate away, then looked through those photos again and again. Am I dreaming? No. All the wedding dresses were beautiful, and I picked one from them. When I pulled back the curtain, I thought Andrew would still be expressionless. Instead, I saw his red-rimmed eyes. He suddenly raised his hand to cover his forehead, tears falling in big drops. For a moment, I froze, never expecting someone with his personality to cry. The sales assistant handed me tissues, smiling as she said, You two have such a strong bond. I took the paper, lifting my skirt to wipe Andrew's tears. His tears were scalding hot, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. Each tear landed squarely in my heart, rippling out, until it triggered a thunderous roar like mountains and rivers collapsing. I thought, the first rule of our agreement, I was going to break it. The wedding photos turned out beautifully, except for Andrew's red eyes. After the shoot, Andrew rubbed his phone, scrolling through the pictures one by one while wiping his nose. I turned his head to face me and asked, Do you have a secret crush on me? His long lashes were clumped together in strands, his lower eyelids red, his nose tip flushed. He admitted openly, Yes, I have a secret crush on you. Maybe because he didn't cry often. Tears kept falling as he spoke. Huge drops rolled down, as if determined to make me soften, ache, unable to resist hugging him, soothing him to stop crying, laying all my tenderness bare before him. He explained while shedding tears, turning my heart into a puddle of softness. I've had a secret crush on you for so long. He knew I liked you, so he went after you. The way he pursued you was all from my notebook. The strawberry cake, I knew you loved it. Inviting you skiing, that was my idea. He had suffered a terrible injustice. I handed him tissues while listening to his halting explanations, completely unaware of the incessant phone calls. When I got the wedding photos, I posted on social media, married, with 2 pictures attached. One was of Andrew looking at me with red-rimmed eyes. The other was the red-backed marriage certificate, which read, Emily Wilson, Andrew Davis. I didn't go home. I went back to Andrew's place. After entering, he seemed to realize he'd lost composure, keeping his eyes downcast and avoiding my gaze. I went to shower, and when I came out, he had placed the marriage certificate squarely in the display case at the center of the living room. He looked up at it again and again, like a child who'd suddenly gotten candy but didn't dare eat it. Seeing me emerge, he turned his head and said coldly, Emily. I sat beside him, listening as he continued, I envy Ethan. Mom always missed my parent-teacher conferences. I never got the winter gloves she knitted. Everyone liked Ethan, including you. He let out a self-mocking laugh. In middle school, I adopted a stray dog. But Ethan took it. And a week later, it died. In high school, my essay was displayed. But the next day, ink was splashed on it. And it was replaced with Ethan's. My stomach hurts. And I can't eat spicy food. Ethan likes it. So they think I like it too. My car. The first car I bought. Mom asked me to give it to Ethan. I've had a crush on you for a long time. But Ethan is with you. He rambled on, saying whatever came to mind. In the end, he only said, I've never been able to keep what I want. It was as soft as a sigh. But it really landed in my heart. Maybe it was out of sympathy for each other that I kissed him. As if kissing another version of myself. I clasped his fingers. When we separated, I put a ring on his ring finger. He was obviously excited. And his chest kept rising and falling. Chapter 2 of our 3 agreements. I'm going to break the rule. We're so compatible that I don't want to part. The next day, I was woken up, dragging my weak and sore body. I got up. When I pushed the door open, I saw that the living room window had been smashed. Ethan was standing in the living room with a bruised cheek, gritted his teeth. Andrew had a cut on his face from the glass. When Ethan saw me, he ran over, suppressing his anger, and asked, What do you mean? I ignored him and walked towards Andrew. I wiped the blood off his face with the cuff of my pajamas. Where's the marriage certificate? Andrew answered sullenly. It was torn up. Ethan grabbed me from behind, his eyes red-rimmed. Emily, what do you mean? Only then did I look at him and reminded him. I remember I already said we're breaking up. Maybe he recalled that week when I stayed out all night. Maybe he remembered me saying we're breaking up. Maybe he thought of that PPT. Or maybe he remembered me suggesting getting married, which he regarded as a joke. We've been together for 5 years. You have no right to treat me like this. We've been together for 5 years. Where's Grandma? She won't agree. Grandma loves me the most. But when he kissed that strange girl passionately and took part in those flirtatious trips under the pretense of being single, why didn't he think about the 5 years we'd been together? Grandma is sometimes lucid. She sensed something and doesn't call Ethan Xiao-E anymore. Now she holds Andrew's hand and calls him Mr. Andrew one after another. She likes whoever treats me well. Ethan's mom also came. She looked at Andrew and raised her hand to slap him hard. Andrew's FACE turned to the side, and a trickle of blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. How could you treat your younger brother like this? Have you no shame? I pulled Andrew behind me and said to the unreasonable two, Get out of my house. When she saw me, then looked at Ethan behind me. Finally losing control, she raised her hand to hit me. The anticipated pain didn't come. As Andrew blocked it, he said, Since you're my mom, you can hit me, but don't hit my wife. Ethan was provoked by this. He stepped on the broken glass all over the floor. Who do you think is your wife? I don't know who started the fight. By the time I realized it, the two of them were wrestling with each other. Although they're brothers, Ethan couldn't beat Andrew, who works out regularly. And soon he was at a disadvantage. I held Ethan's mom down on the sofa. She just cried and cursed at me and Andrew. You're being too partial. She stopped crying and started to retort. Ethan is the younger one. And he has a weak personality. I just take care of him more. Why don't you admit it? Finally, they were taken out by the security guards. And Andrew also got injured on his face. Ethan struggled not to leave and kept calling my name. I raised my hand and slapped him. It doesn't matter if Andrew gets beaten. But I'm protective. I won't hit elders. But I can hit you. After they left, Andrew squatted down and silently swept up the broken glass. I started rummaging through the pile of broken glass bit by bit to find the marriage certificate. I pieced it together little by little, as if I was piecing together my shattered self. I squatted down and patted his head. It doesn't matter. I'll give you a home in the future. On our wedding day, Andrew's parents didn't show up. Nor did mine. The two of us invited our friends and held a lively wedding together. Grandma was sitting in a chair. She took my hand and called me sweetheart, then took Andrew's hand and called him young Andrew. She kept doing this, and Andrew answered her again and again. Grandma smiled. In this world, she was what I worried about the most. I was afraid that she might have a grudge against Andrew because he was Ethan's older brother. But fortunately, Andrew had done what he promised back then, and Grandma trusted him. When Ethan came to see me, Andrew was in the kitchen learning to make a new kind of dessert. He stood at the door, with dark circles under his eyes. Sis, if I hadn't been so willful and gone to the bachelor party, we would have gotten married. I interrupted him. He stood there, stunned, lost in thought. I continued. After marriage, you'd find countless reasons to attend all kinds of banquets and then have an affair. We'd break up. Your brother would come to confess his love, and I'd still end up with your brother. How can you be so sure that I'd attend banquets and have an affair after marriage? He was being stubborn again. I looked at his stubborn face and replied, because it's a fact that you had an affair at the bachelor party, even if you avoid it once. It'll happen again. Andrew softly called me from behind. Emily, try this new flavor. Ethan pushed past me and shouted at Andrew. Do you think she'll like you for long? She got over our 5-year relationship just like that. What about you guys? You've only known each other for a month. Can your relationship last a year? Andrew stood behind me and didn't answer his question. He just said, my wife and I are going to have dinner. Then he gently closed the door. Before going to bed that night, I asked him, how long do you think our relationship will last? He kissed my fingertips. I remember not restricting your freedom. I understood. The decision was up to me. Not even half a year after our marriage, I was pestered by a young boy, an intern who always lingered around me. He sweet-talkingly called me sis. One day, I came back late from signing a contract. When I got in the car, I realized he was the one driving. He dropped me off at the door. As soon as I got out of the car, he grabbed me. I frowned, staggered a bit, and pushed him away. When I turned around, I saw Andrew standing on the steps. I shouted at him, aren't you going to help me? Hearing my voice, he walked over and helped me with his head down. After we got home, I poked his head. Aren't you angry? He didn't answer. After a long pause, he said, this is your freedom. I poked his head again and told him, then I'll ask that guy to come up now. No way. Isn't it my freedom? He fell silent again and went out to get some puffs. I'm wrong. Teach me, and I'll change. Yes. It was me who said he shouldn't restrict my freedom after marriage. I ate the puff and replied, you're not wrong. Then I seriously told him that every relationship I'd had was proper and there was never a situation where I was seeing multiple people at once. But his anxiety didn't ease. The dark circles under his eyes got worse every day, since that boy started pestering me. He hadn't had a good night's sleep. He didn't want to check my phone or ask me anything. He was just torturing himself. I didn't know why he was so insecure. Another time, I woke up in the middle of the night and saw his face pretending to be asleep. I tugged his ear. Cancelled. Cancelled. If you manage me, I'll listen. Forget it. The 3 agreements aren't missing that one. He opened his eyes and said, there's nothing to manage. It's your freedom. I stared at him for a long time. He buried his head in my shoulder. A muffled voice came. Fire that boy. Come home early. Remember to message me. Tell me in advance when you go on a business trip. I'll panic if I open my eyes and you're not there. The pretentious 3 agreements from back then. Not a single one was followed. But I was willing. Extra. Andrew Davis. I have had a crush on Emily Wilson for a long time. I thought of countless ways to pursue her and finally applied to her dream university. But she applied to another one. With the 2 schools north and south, among our mutual friends, they said that after college, she changed boyfriends one after another. But the Emily I know takes relationships seriously. When faced with my confession, she would blush and refuse. No early dating in high school. I secretly went to see her. It was raining that day. And she looked up at the raindrops. Maybe I watched her for too long. She turned to look at me. She asked, "Add a friend." I added her. Crossing over 1,000 kilometers to a strange city, adding a friend wasn't a loss. Later, I found out her parents had each formed new families long ago. To let her take the college entrance exam, they temporarily hid it. But on the eve of the exam, she still found out. At that time, I thought, wait until I graduate and get better. Then go see her. After graduation, I thought, wait until I have a house and savings. Then go see her. Facing the person I like. I'm always insecure, especially me, who couldn't hold on to anything since childhood. I wanted to give her the best to make her stay by my side longer. Later, it was the news that she and Ethan Johnson were together. It's fine. They'd break up in less than 2 weeks. I comforted myself. But they lasted more than 2 weeks, 5 years. They were together for 5 years. Emily doesn't post on social media often. Unless she's very happy. She posted twice. Once when Ethan took her skiing. And once on her birthday with a strawberry cake in front of her. These were things I wrote in my notebook to do with her. When Ethan brought Emily home, he slightly raised his head as if saying, "Look. The girl you like is going to marry me. I'm always cowardly. Always a step slow." Ethan went to a bachelor party and became infatuated with a short-haired girl. When I saw Ethan kissing that girl, I felt a sour swelling in my chest. Emily would be heartbroken if she knew. I sat at Emily's door with a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of liquor. Since childhood, everyone's impression of me was obedient, sensible, self-disciplined, and courteous. In middle school, boys weren't allowed to have hair past their ears. Only I cut it to a buzz cut the next day. I gave myself the time of a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of liquor. Now, I have a house, a car, savings, but I heard my heart beating restlessly. At that moment, what I thought wasn't whether to push open the door behind me, but what if Emily doesn't want me after I push it open? This time-compressed landslide and the post-disaster reconstruction, I faced it alone and could only face it alone. I stood up and raised my hand to knock. Seeing her face, the words easily came out. No need to think at all. "Emily, I'm here to steal my brother's girlfriend." I finally fell asleep. There was a ring on my ring finger, and when I turned my head, it was Emily Wilson's face. After more than half a year, I finally got some sleep. I am a coward. And so is she. She enjoys taking care of me. So I deliberately expose all my scars, laying them bare in front of her. Crushes, injustice, and envy, laid it all out in front of her. The result was good. I got a ring. Countless missed calls on my phone. I ignored them. I got out of bed and waited at the door in advance. It wasn't until 10 o'clock that Ethan Johnson appeared at the door. Too late. Emily sent a photo last night at 11:30. If it were me, I would have taken the earliest train and could have been back in 7 hours. He gritted his teeth and grabbed my collar. "You are my brother." I pushed back, holding him down. Originally, I wanted to talk to him about him sneaking a look at my notebook, and then have a good fight with him. But now that he was standing in front of me, all that suddenly didn't matter. As if by magic, the words slipped out unconsciously. "Keep your voice down. She's sleeping. Extra. Strawberry." I forgot why I don't eat strawberries. I exaggeratedly said, "Strawberries are the most disgusting food in the world." Andrew Davis didn't ask why. In the days that followed, strawberries truly didn't appear in our lives. It was one winter, a child holding a candied hawthorn skewer. He noticed my gaze and asked, "Want some?" I shook my head. It was so late, finding it might not even be possible. But Andrew didn't pay attention. He said to himself, "He came from this way and just ate one, so he can't be too far away." With the wind blowing and light snow falling, He accompanied me to find a candied hawthorn skewer. After many twists and turns, we finally found the vendor in an alley. I took the first bite. I remembered that summer. By then, I already knew that my parents were having marital problems. But they assured me that the love wouldn't diminish. So my emotions were relatively stable. Until that day, a little girl in a dress knocked on my door and said, "Sister, I'm here to find my mom." Mom came out from behind me, surprised. "How did you get here?" "It's my birthday." That day, Mom went with her. I didn't ask or say anything. I sent her a message early. "On your way back, buy me some strawberries." I timed it waiting for her to return. But she forgot because she was busy celebrating the other daughter's birthday. She came back at 10:30, saying, "The fruit shop near home is closed." I didn't speak, put on my shoes, and walked step by step to the fruit shop. She was lying. It wasn't closed. She just didn't see it. Or after seeing the message, she forgot while busy with the other daughter's birthday. I brought back a bag of strawberries. When she saw it, her expression changed. "Do you really need to eat strawberries at this hour? Aren't there apples in the fridge?" "Do I really need to eat strawberries at this hour? What am I trying to prove?" I ignored her and washed the strawberries myself. Took a bite. Sour and astringent. That bite of strawberry made me collapse, forcing me to accept the fact that I was an unwanted child. Now, biting into the candied hawthorn that Andrew had twisted and turned to find. It felt like biting into that year's strawberry. It was sweet,